And I think we're in. Yo ho ho! What's going on, boys? This is Grim Reaper bringing you One Punch Man, the podcast. It's been a minute. I think it's been like 2 to 3 chapters, actually. We're going to be covering 175 through 177 in this instance here. We're not going to stay on it all day either because we have things to do, but we're going to get to the important parts because there are some strong plot lines that are developing, adding to what we've already known about the story and world of One Punch Man, and also creating much more speculation that I think it's worth paying at least some attention to. So without further ado, here go the boys. Everybody's back. What's good with y'all?
Chilling. It's good to be back. We had like what 2-month break in between the last podcast, so a lot to talk about, 3 chapters to cover.
Yeah, lots of good stuff happened. We'll go off some matters into it. Good chapters. I had to catch up on it just because it's been that long. But I read the last chapter yesterday. I'm looking forward to where we're going with this story now, but we'll talk about what actually happened in a minute.
Yes, sir. Yeah, it's been a while, but I'm happy we're going down this route. I mean, at the end of the kind of Monster Association arc, we were all kind of like, yeah, where's it going to go next? Is it going to be Ninja Village, all this type of stuff? And I'm happy it's going down the kind of more Espery type of route, but we'll see where it goes from here, I think.
Yeah, it's a whole new arc with a whole new attitude and presumably more sexy psychic girls. I think that's all I need to say.
No, I would love that. Ooh. A young Fu booty, bro. Oh my gosh. Yo.
Also, any cover art we get moving forward, if we do see more psychics, a long-held theory of mine, which is about, I think, 2 years old, if not older, that green hair seems to be affiliated with psychics. Because we've seen 3 so far. Blue to green hair. We just need more confirmation, and boom, that theory will be confirmed.
We ain't see Gearspur's hair color.
I know. He's like the wild card right now. He's the only one we've seen, and he has a light-colored hair, and I need to fucking see that damn colored cover art. Has he been on a cover yet? Oh shit. I may have to look this up later.
Not sure.
I'll have to. That's all I got to say.
Did Fubuki kiss Psychos?
Yes.
What?
Wait, which... Are we reading the same chapters?
We skipped something. We skipped just a little bit of stuff.
Nah, we didn't skip anything.
Go ahead. Swipe through it. Read through it.
It was a perfect spawn point. Perfect.
Yeah, there was a tree, and there were 2 ladies, and one of them was blushing, or something like that. So bro, you're right. I think she got kissed.
Bro.
Mate, kiss of death.
About that.
I know, right? Yeah.
Have we gotten anything for anybody else?
What do you mean?
Like, what? Have we seen any like sexual display from anybody else? And I don't just mean like...
You've been gone for 2 months, so this is the first thing you want to talk about.
Listen, bro. Listen. Full booties kissing, and it's not caped? Whoever's kissing full booty is...
You're angry about who it was.
Hey, listen, bro.
This is the shit. I said this how many years ago?
They kissed each other.
A year ago, 2 years ago, it was... I'll direct you to the exact page, man. I got you.
Please do, yeah. I was expecting.
It was
page 26.
I still don't believe it.
It's a small panel. It's when Psycho says...
Which chapter?
Oh, 175.
Thank you.
It's when Psycho says, when I was 17, my powers were about to surpass yours. You got desperate to seal my powers off. Apparently, she sealed the powers off with the kiss.
Yeah, use that tongue. Come here, sealed.
Oh man, that's gonna.
I don't think it's far fetched at all. I think that is what happened because if you look at the panel, I mean, she's blushing after it. That tells you something, and you can see Fubuki leaning into her. So unless she, I don't know, whisper in her ear and set some spell, that's probably what happened. She's also touching her lips too.
Stand corrected. Okay.
Becoming more credible.
I was so like Grimm's just starting off. I was like, okay, here we go. Wow, 2 months and he's just talking about trash like this. No. Okay, yeah. Fair point.
Yeah, Grimm's proud of himself.
I mean,
I called this shit.
it was weird in general, bro. Like that's how one and Murata choose to and this is a weird storyline in general. Like I'm not too, how do I phrase this correctly? Like, because we are skipping ahead, but I'll elaborate more when we actually get to it. Because I don't really care too much about this whole like group that they had before. Because all it really does is just confirm that like, yeah, she's been trying to kill humans for a long time and she's fucking crazy. But it did make me doubt or add skepticism to the God theory that we talked about, or the links that we've had thrown out there to us. Like, because before we were talking about speculation of whether God is the reason why anybody speaks about killing the entirety of humanity, if it's a clear influence of God. And at first it seemed like it was, but now we go all the way back here and see that she always had this intention. She was already thinking about this. Like
that aspect of her character made me laugh so much, because I was just thinking to myself, Cycles was just a plain weirdo. She didn't get the power to, or she didn't. It's not that she identified as a monster and then decided when she got all the power, I'm going to destroy humanity. She was already this weird from the jump. That's hilarious.
I mean, those kinds of people in real life don't just one day turn over and it's like, oh, I'm going to store a bunch of bodies under my bed, you know. This shit starts way earlier in life.
That's so funny though. Like, she wasn't worried about no culture festival, none of the high school stuff. Just let's get rid of all these people. All right.
Let's get to killing. No brain powers? No brain for you. Rush.
So, the last few guys we've gotten in the series, like, aside from Cosmic, really, aside from Platinum, no, maybe this is the wrong statement to say. The last few guys we've gotten in the series are fucking badass, but design-wise, Tsukuyomi guy, or I'm gonna just call him Tsukuyomi in general. He's got a pretty badass design. He came in with a nice-looking car, with the hat, and with the mask in particular, especially when it's covered up. Very intriguing, very appealing design for a character. How did you guys feel about the introduction of Tsukuyomi, and as of now, including 177? What's your perception of this guy now? Like, did it change from when he first came in? Like, or do you see him more hype now or less hype? Like, how strong do you think he is? How do you feel about Tsukuyomi? In the group too, apparently.
I'll start off with his design. I think his design's very cool, but my favorite thing about the design more than anything is that underneath the mask, it basically looks the same as with the mask on. Like, the mask is pointless because the mark is exactly the same on his forehead. So it's like, what's the point of the mask really? Like, what's it actually doing? I just like that stupid design. I feel like they did that on purpose. He's a cool design character. Tsukuyomi, I think we're all obviously a bit we want to know about him because Tsukuyomi means moon god in Japanese, right? So there's obviously like, okay, god on the moon. We all want to know what's going on with that. This guy, I mean, in terms of strength, he's decent. It's enough that like he can catch like Psychos off guard, but it's not at a level where like Tatsumaki's like a problem. Like, it's still not a problem for Tatsumaki. So never like when Tatsumaki showed up, it was never a case of Tatsumaki's in trouble. It was always a case of, right, how long until she actually just wipes the floor with him. I'm obviously like, I can't really say too much about Tsukuyomi because we still need to learn more about them. But obviously they've got ties to like the Hero Association apart from what we've seen as well. Are they tied to like the organization as well? Like, how deep does it go? Are they the organization? Like, we don't, maybe they are, I don't know. I like his design. I think we're not going to see too much more of him. Like, my guess right now is if Saitama and Tatsumaki are about to fight, he's going to use that opportunity to get out of there. But I like it. I like it so far.
I would say yeah, his design is cool. I think he himself though isn't too important in the grand scheme. It's just more so that he is the stand-in for the organization. Like I think the organization is going to end up being a lot more important than him. But right now he's the face of it. And it's funny that Matt said that he was just a decent person because he's S-class level. But because of the people that were involved in it, Saitama and Tatsumaki, I mean, I was of the same mind. I really had no doubt that Tatsumaki could handle him just from what he was showing. But he's still a very strong person, which is very worrisome that they have someone like this. It kind of makes you think if they were to get Psychos or if they were to, I know it's probably not going to happen, capture Tatsumaki again, what research could come of that? But yeah, I think he himself is just whatever, but it's more so just showing that yeah, this organization is a big threat, and a lot of shady business is going on with the Hero Association. So
Yeah, that Hero Association.
as we already thought.
Yeah, bro. I mean, we did get alluded to that, and we literally saw it for a minute now. But, bro, like, well, go ahead, Sundown. I don't think you've gone, have you?
Me and Kishin haven't gone yet. But yeah, design wise, I think in terms of just an entry for a character like into the story, he made such a cool, like, he's underground parking lot. He's all fully blacked out. He's got his cool hat on. I mean, if all of these Tsukuyomi guys are coming in fully suited out, tuxes, all that type of stuff, I'm gonna be like, yo, this is the coolest looking organization. It's like Akatsuki. Like, he just looks so cool, and his mask, like Matt was saying, is kind of useless. But I was actually, besides his looks being awesome, even without the mask, he's got like huge eyes and like a really small mouth, so he just looks a bit crazy. But the fact that he was able to at least put up somewhat of a fight, I thought was quite interesting. I don't think we were ever really concerned for Tatsumaki in the sense of, I think there was a part where he talks about having a similar level of output of what the ESP energy, the whatever it is, telekinesis, to Tatsumaki, and she's there not even breaking a sweat. I was like, yeah, I don't think you have. But super impressive. And the fact that he was saying, I think he specifically mentions like scalping some of these ESP users, like Psychos, so taking apart her head and seeing what's inside and using her brain for something. I was like, yo, damn. So that's what they're doing. But like Matt said as well, actually, the fact that they called Tsukuyomi, which is the god of the moon in Japanese mythology, and then the fact that this is all related to the god who's on the moon for some reason, whether he's sealed there or not, whatever it might be, it just screams that these guys are like super fanatic of that god, and they're trying to do the deed, which is get rid of humanity, the plague, and that's kind of what Psychos was doing as well. So it's a bit strange that they're after Psychos when in reality Psychos should be like one of their leading members, maybe.
Did they say that they were trying to destroy humanity?
No, that's what I'm theorizing they are probably trying to do, or something along those lines.
Elevate their status in society. I could believe that. Because, like, at this point, they're like a minority. I mean, we keep seeing more and more psychic individuals, but in some ways they're viewed as freaks if they don't become heroes. So you could definitely see where they would like to even the playing field. I mean, genocide is always on the table, as Psychos is kind of put out there. So you could definitely see these being possibilities. Also, his design, yeah. It's simple, but it's very effective. The car was cool. I want to say it looks like a 1960s car of some sort. I don't know. It screams very vintage. Also, the marks on his head do remind me of one thing. I don't know if any of you read D. Gray Man. The Noahs. They all had those like scar marks. That's what those kept screaming at me. I don't know if that's supposed to denote that he's had some kind of surgery or modification or what, Or maybe that's just a symbol of the group, maybe. Like they brand you with those marks.
Well, just to jump on that, Kishin, like the guy who was like the traitor in the Fubuki group, he also had a scar on his forehead as well, like where his
Yeah.
hair lifted up. So that might just be a thing where there's like a brain surgery or something, like to tap into your like latent psychic abilities. That's probably what makes sense. So
like
I'd be
yours,
interested to see like if we look at basically just something to keep an eye on in the future. If we see anyone with a scar on their head in the future, probably connected to Tsukuyomi.
I hadn't thought about that, but that's a great like signal to be looking for in the future. Because I also assume the same thing. Like and it's coincidentally, it was Psychos who created Evil Eye, and Evil Eye mentioned or powered up Evil Eye, and Evil Eye mentioned that by having all these eyeballs or psychic organs of these individuals implanted into his body, he became that much more stronger. That's how you say it. Yeah, that much stronger. That's how you say it.
No, this made me think of something. We keep seeing these notions of the third eye. The third eye is supposed to be your mind's eye. But what if there's an actual organ inside of their brain that's actually connected to it, that is developed, separately, and it's a literal third eye in there, and that's what was attached to Evil Eye. I know it sounds stupid on a biological level, but this is One Punch Man.
No, I think there's
Or they
definitely.
manifested.
So you guys go ahead. I'll jump on afterwards.
No, you go
Finish
ahead.
this
You
part.
go ahead, Matt. You go ahead.
No.
Yeah,
Just
have on,
because
have on.
one of my main thoughts, because obviously we've got a few sidekicks in the series, was right, Gearsper. I've just managed to find an image of him when he's got his helmet off and it's off. There's like stitching all along his face, like where the head is. So, Grim, you muted.
Post this picture, bro.
Yeah, sure. Just because, okay, give me a minute.
Yeah, it's right after his helmet explodes, and he starts doing all of his crazy psychic shit.
Yo, that's great. Cause here's the other weird part. Whenever Psychos wakes up and senses or hears Tsukuyomi, she goes crazy. So, being that Tatsumaki was the first one to be involved with Tsukuyomi way back in the day, this was the lab that Blast broke into to free her from. It was a Tsukuyomi lab, and we saw the monsters that were in there. Then Tatsumaki gives context that we didn't know about, that wasn't told to us in the series, about the details or the context behind the strength of their psychic experiments. She was calling their psychic experiments trash, as if she had encountered other individuals who were psychically induced or mutated due to their research. So could it be the case that somehow they've been after Psychos for a while? Like maybe Tsukuyomi, the main guy's dialogue doesn't necessarily allude to that exactly. That maybe this is their first time targeting her. But for her to recognize this group, is it just that she's smart? Is it just that she knows about things? Like, cause that's weird, bro. Like, now that Matt says that, are we to assume, just like you mentioned earlier, that anybody with like a cut on their forehead with psychic powers is affiliated with Tsukuyomi? And does that mean that Gearspur may be affiliated with Tsukuyomi?
Well, affiliated in the sense of he might be an artificial psychic, right? So this is kind of going into another part of the chapter. But that Tsukuyomi guy mentioned, he was talking about, there being natural espers and there being artificial ones. So I think the natural ones are the ones who are hunted. So Tatsumaki, Fubuki, and then Psychos as well. She seems to be natural.
Okay.
So they're hunted for their abilities, and then maybe it's it's some element of transplanting that over into different individuals who then have the scar on their head, and they're the artificial ones. So Tatsumaki was probably being experimented on to make more espers in some way, shape, or form. Now the fun part is the Tsukuyomi guy. He says that natural espers seem to lack balance. And I think the context he mentions it in is there's pure psychic ability, which is just kind of what Tatsumaki has, which is complete destruction. And then there's future sight, which is what the witch lady had. What was her name? Shibabawa? Was it Shibabawa?
Chibaba.
Shibaba.
Right, they're saying she's. Sorry to jump in. Like,
Baba
have we
Wa.
said that she? Did they say at some point that she was a psychic.
No,
or-
yeah, she is a psychic. She was brought up in one of these chapters. I forgot about that. And I
Yeah,
was
she was brought up by
Brought up by
Psychos when they're talking
Psychos.
about. Yeah.
talking
when
about
they're
reaching
talking-
up her pinnacle, right?
Yeah, she's talking about like how cool Fubuki is. She's like, oh yeah, you can lift like a whole truck. But then she talks about her reading this book where she's unlocking her third eye. Once again, talking about that third eye, and she wants to be a bit like that Shibaba character.
So you're thinking about it that dialogue was referring to the balance or the scale
Yeah.
of psychic ability. Okay.
Yeah, so this third eye thing, maybe it's separate, but it sounds like there's another ability which is future sight, which supposedly these artificial espers seem to be better at than the natural ones. The natural ones don't seem to be particularly good at it. And the only example we've had is Psychos, who supposedly saw the future, and she went crazy. So,
That's
yeah,
right,
that
Mike.
too.
Yeah, she was just reading the book. That's what it was. Yeah. That's the context. I forgot. She was reading the book, and then she got that panel of like those really weird looking lines or whatever. And it
God, yeah.
it almost made you think of God.
It did. There's nothing else like in the series that has that kind of imagery. Like, it's what I think it is. Is just like it's chaos. There's not like it's not anything important. Just like the future is just like it's not like clear. Like that's the image I took from her. She goes, "This is the future." There's nothing clear about that. It's not like the lines have like any patterns to them at all. It's just like a chaotic future. Is what I took from that, and because it looks
They're
so
like
similar, it's like
branching timelines. You don't know exactly what's going to happen until it happens.
kind of. But I took it more on the line that like just because like the twist, like it's just dark and twisted. It just made me think of God more than anything, and maybe just because like if there's anything that's uncertain, I'm like, oh my God, it's God. But that's just what I took from it.
Because Sitch knew about Shibabuwa and knew about God. And I always thought it was weird that he kept insisting about the prophecy. And he's like, oh, it's not this, it's that. Or, oh, no, it's not that, it's this. Is he equating it to God? Like the prophecy is about God coming to be the threat? And they're just not officially saying it out loud like that? Because if that's the case, is there some kind of connection between Shibabuwa and God? Like, is this third eye thing? Because you're right, Matt. The only thing close to what we just saw on that panel is the panels of God that we've seen. So is there some type of like connection between Shibabuwa and God, or like I don't know? Because I would at first I assumed that picture we saw was God somehow communicating or trying to get inside of Psychos' head, and whatever that instance was, Shibabuwa may have had a connection with him, either actually looking to the future and seeing whenever he attacked and whenever he invaded, or somehow our power stemmed from him, and like maybe this third eye acts as like a window for God. Kind of like how in Seven Deadly Sins, the Demon King was using a marked animal to see the world through his eyes, even though he was in purgatory. Maybe something like that would be happening, but I mean, we still have the question whether God was on the moon or not, right? So, and now that we saw the fight with Blast, Garou, and Saitama, where we actually see a skeleton in the dark side of the moon, like
It's
The
fair
Lord,
to
bro.
say. I mean, like I said, this god, like this group's called TSUKUYOMI. Like, it's fair to say that there's a god in the moon at this point. It's not certain, but because there's also a part of One Punch Man where I kind of wish it was just they chose the name because it sounded cool. It's got nothing to do. It's pure coincidence. But they're just like, we just chose it because it sounded cool.
It
Like
sounds
when
cool.
they will come to the end, yeah,
And
and just by
pull a
pure
Naruto.
chance to do with Tsukuyomi.
I mean, I know the translations aren't a really good thing to like go off of all the time, but like it almost seemed as if in the dialogue when we first saw the word or the name Tsukuyomi, it's as if the narrator or the translator added the word Tsukuyomi in there, and as if like they were adding that context.
It's the official. They call it Tsukuyomi in the official as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's the one thing, like, out of all the translations, if they mistranslated that part, considering it's a name, it would be like the hardest part. It'd be like if they said Osaka or something like that.
Mhm.
It'd be really difficult to mistranslate that part.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. Okay. No, yeah, it definitely makes sense, or it's at least if you're aware of it, because I am familiar with Tsukuyomi from like Naruto, where it's like I guess it is the moon and the actual lore, Japanese lore. It is a moon, a god, correct? Like the god of a moon. That's the name of the god of the moon. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So
God
it's,
of the Moon. Yeah.
yeah, so it's like Izanami
Sister
and all
of
that.
Susanoo.
And Susanoo, yeah, Susanoo is also the name of a god.
This
Yeah.
is this how like any person in the West knows like these kind of things. It's just Naruto. I wish I could say it's more, but we all grew up with Naruto. That's the only reason we know this stuff.
Yeah.
Hey, if it helps you understand concepts, it's fine.
You gotta relate. You gotta relate. No, yeah, that's. That was actually the exciting part of this like little spur of chapters that we've had here because I haven't been too like immersed because we just got out of like busting Jupiter. Like I don't care what anybody says, we just came down from a huge high, a huge high. So like, it's not as if we didn't have a change of pace here. But this change of pace is not like filler or throwaway chapters like you get sometimes, where there are clear transitional chapters of content that you don't care about. This doesn't seem to be that. There's a little bit of that. Don't get me wrong. Like I don't care about the Saitama's neighbors at all.
Oh yeah, the fodder.
Mate, I love them. I know this is probably the only time we get to talk about them. But his Saitama's fight against Beat was so good. When he starts into the views, gets hit by the car. It's amazing. I like them because they are just fun.
Yo, the Fubuki group are bro, they're a group of criminals, man. They just hit that man that just straight up is like, oh, okay, all right.
Bro, I wanted to know. I'm not sure. I can't remember, but did they all like come out of one car? Is this like?
I think
Is this
so.
India?
Clown
Is this
car
India
shit.
again?
Oh, it's like a
What the
clown
hell,
car.
man?
It's some clown car shit, bro.
Yeah, clown
it was
car.
it was a fleet car, but like, it's just better to remember it's a clown car.
Oh
They
shit!
can't let that guy in and all the things that happen.
Look at ridiculous.
And then the
How's
worst
that one
part is,
big dude fit in there?
yeah,
that
that
dude
big
is
ass
huge.
dude, big head as well. Yeah. But I thought the worst part was they hit this dude who was just dancing or something in the middle of the road, and they get out and the most un-Japanese way they're just like, "Hey, jackass, why are you wearing your headphones in the middle of the road?" I was like, "Yo."
I mean, they're not wrong. That's what I mean. Sometimes I was like, it's really dangerous to fight like that. Like that's not a good idea.
Oh man. And then actually, did he manage to drop off? What were their names? Black Sperm and Rover. Did he? Yeah, he actually gave them to the other guy, didn't he? The butterfly guy.
He's just like, here you go. There's your dog. Here's my monkey. Bye.
But he offered to, in the end, he offered to co-parent though. He did say that he would actually look after them if they needed it a bit. So good man, Saitama, I suppose.
Just because we're jumping round, I'll bring this up. I wanted to ask Grim a question in a sec, but he's gone. How do we feel that they just skipped? I imagine we're all on the same opinion that they skipped the Fubuki Psychos fight as well.
Oh yeah, pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, like
I didn't feel any way about it because, I mean, I thought Cycles was out of the picture power wise. Since she got, since the whole jet thing, pretty much. Like when they weren't showing Cycles after that, I was just like, I guess she's done for this arc, pretty much. So I was actually surprised that they had their little swabble, and I expect to see more from those two. Maybe not fighting wise. To me, I've always been interested in the character stuff with them, like their background, and we got a little bit of that, but I want to see them interact more. But I don't really have a problem with that fight not being drawn out, just because she already had a huge fight, so I didn't have any expectations for her to have another fight like that with Fubuki. And it is Fubuki, so like how much can you really do with Fubuki if Cycles is supposed to be at the appropriate level?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think I agree with Satsuki. Well, in the first half of the reading, I agreed with Satsuki. Because I was like, yeah, you know, Psychos has just been through Tatsumaki, Genos, and every other possible hero that could fight her at the time did. So she's going to be absolutely knackered. Her ability should be pretty much zero at this point, and she already looks pretty busted up. But then, as we kind of get to the end of the fight, we see that Fubuki has been bloodied up quite a bit. So I was like, wait a sec, like, what did Psychos do during that fight, even though she was already took it out? That she managed to damage Fubuki to an extent where she's bleeding at the very least. So I was like, man, I did kind of want to see that. So I was a little bit disappointed. But I think, yeah, end result would have probably been the same. Don't really mind it so much.
I think it's mostly just because of how the chapter ended, really, because that chapter ends with them both flying in the air. I was like, cool, we're going to get this fight. It's going to be good. And we get the backstory stuff, which I really like. And then it just kind of cuts to, oh, it's done. I would have liked to have just seen even, it doesn't have to be like anything massive, but I don't need like a Bang and Garou kind of level, like backstory fight kind of thing. But just something that's a bit more than what we got. That's all I wanted.
He didn't want to see his ship fighter more than he had to show. That's why.
Yeah.
I think
Go ahead.
Sorry, I just had a quick question for you, Grim, just because you went off and then. So you mentioned about like how this arc, like from where we just were a second, like at the end of last arc, where you know we're fighting in space, teleporting, blast apart Jupiter, to where we are now to more of like a down to earth section. You said you don't care about it that much. Just because I'm curious, like, because you watched the anime first before we started reading the manga, right? Like, how did you feel going from like where we had Saitama and Boros going crazy, like kicking into the moon, splitting the clouds, to then when it started the next arc where it's Saitama and King, and that's like a lot more down to earth. It's like it's not at that level. Like that arc didn't start off like at a crazy level either.
I loved it. It's solely. This is solely because I'm reading week to week, and I just fucking saw Saitama bust Jupiter. I'm positive that like in like a year or two, if we're still getting casual chapters, I'll love it just the same. Because if you guys remember, these used to be monthly. It would be. I used to cover One Piece and Taizai, and you'd get the monthly One Punch chapters. They'd be long and fucking gas. It'd be that thing. I loved it, and they were fucking casual chapters too. Like I loved it. It was perfectly fine to me. There was no big overarching storyline. The Monster Association Invasion arc actually became an overarching storyline. More so, or I would say the first out of the entire story. Because I didn't see the Super Fight arc in that same fashion. I didn't see the majority of the storyline in the same fashion. It was a lot more episodic to me. So to get a big full arc, I loved it. But I loved it beforehand. It's just, bro, I can't just see Cosmic out there doing that thing, bro. Like niggas forget that Cosmic did not touch Blast. That up in the air right now, the current real Blast is as strong as Cosmic. That happened. Blast did that. And you want me to just enjoy this music nigga that looks just like Saitama versus Caped?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I rest my case. I can't do it, bro. I can do it. I'm doing it. I'm going to do it. But I'm just saying, like, and I will, and it's probably the reason why I've been underestimating this whole little psychic portion because of that. But what was bothering me before we keep moving on and pushing to the next portion is the scaling is weird here. I don't know how strong Tsukuyomi is. Like, he didn't body Fubuki. He slipped pills into her food. Like, he's not anywhere near challenging Tatsumaki. And, like, he fended off a drugged up Psychos. I actually don't have a real way to scale this individual besides, sure, he's an S-class psychic, but I don't think he's stronger than Evil Eye. So that's kind of been throwing me off. The fact that, like, oh, okay.
I think he could be Eva. I mean, but it'll be a fight. It'll definitely be a fight. I mean, it's not really, like you said, it's not anything to make a conclusive judgment on it. But like you said, for sure he is like a S-class level talent from how he was fighting against Fubuki. But I'm glad you brought up the whole cycles thing too, because that's what kind of got me about it. I was like, okay, so you beating up on Psychos while she's, in captivity and drugged. You beating up on Fubuki. Fubuki's not that strong in comparison to a lot of the people we focus on. And then you get handled by Tatsumaki. So yeah, S class is where we would put him, but we don't have a proper like stamp as okay, you're right here. You're like you're on the level of Puri. We don't have anything like that. But he's given a lot of people issues for sure. Just from him being an Esper alone.
I think in terms of like how he fights is like representative of like maybe this how Tsukuyomi fight is they don't just fight like it's like how Garou wasn't the problem that the hero associated with Garou is he wasn't just a monster who ran around and smashed people up. He used technique. He knew how to fight against heroes and humans. So like rather than him just being a pure power psychic like Tatsumaki and Fubuki, he fights using technique. He's like, right, I'll target this. I'll use the capsules that I implanted here. Like maybe that's how Tsukuyomi are as a company. Because if we just have like another all-out power battle, it's the same kind of thing as before. But if these guys are like, right, we don't fight just all out like that. We fight dirty. Like we do what we can to win because we recognize there's a power gap and we'll do what it takes to win.
Don't get me wrong. I definitely thought it was cool to see Tatsumaki really consider her situation and then pull back on power, let herself get twisted up and everything. Like, yo, like this may really be like she's really worried. But I also don't like how we don't know enough about these psychic powers, and to get random resolutions to these things, it's like for example, the only thing I can really give to justify what happened with Tatsumaki resolving this whole pill thing is that she was able to figure out where Psychos was deep underground by finding her, basically cross or reverse tracing. I think that's how you call it. Reverse tracing or back tracing, something like that. Just using the same signal but backwards, because the signal is going to go back and forth to receiver to sending or whatever. So she followed the signal where it was going back to, which was Psychos, using the little checkpoints that Psychos was using to amplify her power or whatever. So it's not as if she can't sense psychic powers. We've known that in the series for a while. So that makes sense as to why she would be able to sense an object that reacts to psychic abilities. But that's a whole lot of referencing and thinking that you have to do for like some powers. Like, if you're not into it as much as we are, or not paying attention as much as we are, Tatsumaki just pulled some shit out of her ass.
Really? I didn't get that thought at all. But to be fair, I didn't think about it that deeply.
Yeah, it's only when you said about the Psychos bit I thought about that, but like just because she's shown as the strongest one, like when she did, I was like, oh, of course you can do that. It wasn't like a JoJo's pull out where like I did this in this exact way, so this thing could happen here. This felt like I believe she could do this.
I think if there's a crossroad 5 miles ahead, we're not there yet. We're 5 miles away, but we're getting into the right fucking lane. That's how I feel we are with this Tatsumaki shit and the psychic powers. Like, in Avatar, you have a hard power system, as they call it, or as they describe it. You can create fire, you can create water, you can move the earth, and you can move the air. And you got some special instances in between that. But they coincide with that, with the entire power system. That's not the case here for One Punch. You got fast niggas, you got niggas that got cannons, you got psychic motherfuckers. Like, there's a strong variety out there. And to get that much more specific with the one ability that has the most flexibility, I want more background. And like I said, there's background for it. I myself, as a person complaining, was able to reference an instance where she used this whole psychic sensing shit to pinpoint something in the past that was small to take an action. Fine. I'm just saying, bro, like, what can Tatsumaki do surgery too? Like, what's going on here?
He just did. She just pulled a needle straight out of her sister's stomach. Bro, that's not gonna end well. She need a doctor.
Nah, she got Tatsumaki's the doctor. It's fine.
So, Fubuki, you guys were talking about you weren't expecting too much from Fubuki versus Psychos. In the defeat of Psychos, Fubuki touches Psychos and senses God. Great fear. She even says to herself, "What on earth was that?" Flashy Flash is somewhat aware of what's going on here. Zombie Man is very suspicious of the concept. Where is this headed? Maybe there are others that I have not mentioned that are involved or know about God. If you guys can remember them and you want to mention them. But the question is, where is this headed? Like, is this just like a path to having everybody know the truth about God, or is this leading to something? Like, do these individuals who are getting warning signs ahead of time, are they going to be essential in actually defeating God? Or is it just a coincidence that this is the order in which people are figuring it out? What do you guys think?
I think it would be the latter of what you just said, like the order of them figuring out. Because if we're to believe that God is supposed to be like the central antagonist in a future arc or something like that, then whether people want to or not, they will have to be prepared to fight against either him, God himself, or whoever are like followers of God or something like that. So this is just the process of everybody figuring out, because it's still a secret as far as the entire organization goes, or the Hero Association goes. But as you stated with like Flashy Flash and Zombie Man, like they found out about that. It was brought to them. They had the meeting and everything. So I think more and more people are going to find out about it. But it's just that Fubuki and Psychos, of course, know about it earlier than other people might learn about it.
Yeah, like the main thing I would probably say whenever we're done with this kind of big bit of the story, like when A class is done, is God will be very common knowledge to a lot of people, and Saitama will be very common knowledge to a lot of people, because the way this has all started is so many people are finding out about God, and so many people are starting to find out about Saitama. Like, just it's all kind of coming to a point where the way it'll go is just by the end of it, like it just makes sense that the knowledge is gonna keep spreading, because if this goes on, like if this chapter, it's the next one is literally going to be Saitama and Tatsumaki fighting, then of course like Tatsumaki's going to find out about it. Fubuki knows, like she called Saitama Ascended. She recognized before he was strong, but now she gets like, you're different. People are starting to find out about him, and people will start finding out God.
Who said that? Who said he was ascended? Fubuki?
Yeah, it's like before he gets flung down the crater.
Oh yeah, let me check that bitch quick fast.
So he goes, I don't remember. I fought Garou, so I know he was someone who reached the peak and ascended. Having taken him down, you're probably someone else who has ascended. So she gets that, like, if you took down Garou, like Garou was different, you're different.
Oh yeah, Saitama's a Jupiter clapper, bitch.
It's a Jupiter sneezer, mate.
Oh, my fault.
Thank you.
Oh my god, that honestly, it does ruin it so badly. Oh my god.
No, that makes it a million times better.
Yeah.
Do you hate the fart as well?
The what?
Do you hate when he farted and just shot through space?
Oh my god.
That's incredible, mate.
That fart was Naruto level.
I keep those moments out of my memory. That didn't happen in a fight to me.
Ingrain it. Right, okay. Just to remind you then, he sneezed and blew apart Jupiter. He farted and caught up with Garou. I think he teleported, to be fair, through the warp hole, but come
on. Okay, so Tsukuyomi guy. We're thinking, did y'all see his shirt too, by the way? Like the stars and shit on the shirt?
Cool design, I like it, yeah.
Is that alluding to something? No? Okay. So what are we gonna do about Tsukuyomi? Are these guys stronger than the House of Evolution so far. The organization is the group that Drive Knight's behind, right? Or Drive Knight's on the front of, right? Not the organization.
Some
What we
level
guess.
of affiliation.
Yeah.
That's okay. I just wanted to remember the name. Yeah, the organization, we have them. Their strongest representative is Drive Knight, obviously. Is Tsukuyomi competing with these two groups? You know, I don't want to mention the Hammerhead crew, their group, but
If this guy's the strongest, then no. But they have potential.
Yep.
In
I'm
a lot
pretty
of,
sure he's not.
No, it's like a trope in a lot of stories. Like, there's someone who's decent when like a new organization shows up. They're never like the top dog, but there'll be someone who shows up and then they'll go back. It's like in Bleach, because we were talking about it earlier. You know how like Grimjow was the first trope of the Espada, and then we go back and then there's everyone else there. So it might be a similar sense where he's good, but he's not their best.
Okay, you think it's some real anime? You think Tsukuyomi finna come through with some force? Okay,
I think they've got some strong guys.
if that's the case, go ahead.
I think they got. I don't know if like they're going to be the next monster association, but we could see where they're going. Like, it could be like multiple. Like you've just said, we've got multiple groups. We've got these guys. We've got the organization. It could be like a war on two fronts kind of thing, where I had to deal with two groups at once.
You also got the Ninja Crew too. They're I wouldn't say they're a group, but they're affiliated with like a concept.
Yeah, it's whatever's going on with the ninjas, and then of course God as well. So
yeah, we still have some storylines here fleshing out. So yeah, that Psycho stuff was intense. There's definitely something there. 177, we had the pills that were implanted in Fubuki's food. We had Caped popping up out of nowhere. But the thing that's actually kind of bothersome to me is the community once again. So Tatsumaki's clearly displaying her anger. There's clearly a very strong emotional drive to what's going on here. Sometimes it's a little difficult to see that with her character because of the gag form that she has and how she's most of the time serious. Sometimes you get the casual Tatsumaki like in the Hero Association meetings, but like we've seen an upset Tatsumaki before. So to me, it was kind of difficult to take in exactly how pissed she was. But she was pissed. She even drove this little thing through this guy's head, assuming that it would have killed him. So, now that we know that anybody can turn into a monster, now that we know that Garou stopped his monstrification process, now that we know that the association can mark you as a monster to remove your rights, what are we to see Tatsumaki's actions as? Like, because this is if we're not to focus on just this aspect here, we could just talk about how she got angry. Because what I was leading this conversation into is how I don't like how the community's basically spoiled us as to how hype this next few moments are going to be. Like, to me, there's nothing alluding to there being a hype moment here. Like, this is Caped, this is Tatsumaki. They've encountered each other before. They've had beef with each other before, words since the first few chapters in the Hero Association meeting. I have no reason to believe that even a clash between Caped and Tatsumaki would be entertaining because this is Caped. But the community is definitely not alluding to that. But if we take in all those other factors into account, is Tatsumaki a tool of the evil because the association is dirty? Like, is there incredible negative potential with the capability of the association? Because we're not only talking about a group that has taken it upon themselves to be seen in a very positive light amongst the community by providing them and offering them protection. But they then started to narrow that protection to only the rich. Not only is this organization corrupt from the beginning since we've seen it, not only from Narinki's antics and all the like or whatever, to the different dialogue that we got from the executives throughout the Monster Association attack arc, whenever they were attacking the cities or whatever, to actually now when we see the truth of them having an interrogation facility, places to torture motherfuckers, like They're dirty. So, if the truth of this entity that we like praise and hold on a pedestal is so negative and evil, then is Tatsumaki the strongest tool of great evil?
I wouldn't say so. From what we've seen of Tatsumaki, especially with her, especially with this chapter, what it showed you, she has her own set of morals and ethics that she follows, and nobody can really tell her any different. She is compliant with the Hero Association. She'll do the right thing and she'll take on tasks. But if, for example, if they were to say something like, "Yo, Tatsumaki, arrest Fubuki," what you think she gonna do? She tearing that bitch apart.
You're right.
She's going to do whatever is like in her heart ultimately. If the Hero Association turned out to be a shady and they turned out to be evil, she might rebel against them. Like
Crush a city or the Hero Association, I guess now. Back into the ground.
now one thing they could do is like give her back, they could still carry the facade as being all good and maybe lead her astray through misinformation, but that's the only way you can hope to really control Tatsumaki in that way. If she sees your true colors, it's not like she's going to just follow them blindly. She's not like their lapdog.
Okay. I definitely see that as a valid argument as to why Tatsumaki wouldn't be a weapon, but like, for all intents and purposes, they captured her as that. It's not just, well, it's primarily, as Sundown mentioned, she was a research subject to amplify their artificial psychic program. And this guy's probably a result of that instance where they captured her. Like,
know what you should be asking? Why are they doing this in the first place? If they're backed by the Hero Association, why are they doing this in the first place if they have Tatsumaki? It's because they can have someone of Tatsumaki's level that they can control fully.
And I can't. I mean, yeah, that's clearly the goal. They were trying to gather Tatsumaki. Yeah.
If I can make a Tatsumaki at home, I might as well make one.
You try to fuck her. That's what you
What are you talking about?
That's what you do.
What are you talking about?
You put her in a corner and
I would ask her to get my remote.
Oh, that's
that's it.
Oh, okay.
I have nothing. No ulterior.
Are you stuck in the laundry,
motive.
Tatsumaki? I'll help you get out.
I have no ulterior motives when it comes to Tatsumaki.
Is your
pure,
hand stuck
innocent,
into the bed,
wholesome
Tatsumaki?
virgins.
He probably wouldn't even buy her or make her panties, bro, or underwear. He'd have her like
So Thomas,
just
save
butt
us.
naked in the
Save
house all the
us.
time, bro.
Save us from the bullshit.
Whatever she's comfortable in. I mean, I'm not gonna make her wear panties. She doesn't seem to wear them anyways.
Shit, bro, you may be right about that, bro. She wearing thongs, man. Look at that, bro. You can see them cheeks, man. Right now, I'm on page 31 of chapter 177, and them cheeks is on display again, bro. I'd eat them.
All right, calm down. Calm down.
So a little bit earlier, I kind of gave my opinion, but I didn't give you guys a chance to express yours. Tatsumaki versus Caped. Go.
No.
For One Punch Man, dude.
It'll be fun to watch. I think that's a thing. But if you're, I don't know, like, Sundown just said it. It's One Punch Man. I don't think he's gonna. Like, here's the thing. Do you think he's gonna hit her?
He ain't gonna strike her.
Oh
she looks
shit,
too
bro! It's gonna be
young.
one of those.
She's
Come
like-
on.
She's like below his chest height. I don't think he's gonna like backhand. That would be
Not in the sense of that, but like when I imagine in my head like him punching Tatsumaki, I'm a bit like, oh, okay.
You should be asking, can he hit her? 100 on
Ooh.
Tatsumaki.
I think he
damn.
Now the name means
100 pesos?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. we all know Tatsumaki can't win that. But I think like the what to look forward to in that fight is not to say that this hasn't already happened, considering how Tatsumaki interacts with Blast, but this is going to be, if Saitama, really shows his power, a humbling moment for Tatsumaki. And for someone of her level to be possibly beat by someone like Saitama, who she doesn't, acknowledge as on her level or anywhere close to that.
She barely acknowledges him as a person, for God's sakes.
He barely acknowledges like S-class heroes too. It's like she dismisses them like you're weak. So it'll be a huge character moment for Tatsumaki. I think that's the biggest thing to look forward to. It's not the fight itself, it's the ramifications of Tatsumaki being beat by Saitama and what that would mean for her. How will she deal with that? How will she treat Saitama in the future? Yeah, that whole thing.
I think you're right, yeah.
See, but will Saitama do it though? Because I think he's intelligent enough to know that the whole Fubuki group are there. Fubuki's there. And even though they're unconscious, there are some executives there as well for the Hero Association. So would he openly kind of show up Tatsumaki and be like, yeah, look, she's easy enough to beat for an A-class hero?
I don't know, but I don't know.
Well, that could be a thing that really affects the reputation. Is obviously like whatever fight happens, but if people know that like Tatsumaki lost, and people are like, well, she couldn't even beat this one guy. How's she going to protect us from everyone else? Like it's like everything with like Saitama and the hero and like the monsters where like he beats a tiger level threat, and they're like, yeah, the C-class hero beat the tiger level threat. That makes sense. Like, so rather than giving credit to Saitama, they might use it as an opportunity to discredit Tatsumaki.
Bro, you be thinking, bro. You be fucking thinking, Matt. Like, I didn't even think about it like that. Because you are in a situation to where if Saitama fights, somebody's going to see. Probably not, because this is One Punch Man. But he's involved. And we just saw him, quote unquote, be involved with the with Metal Knight's defense system, which a My Mask saw. So even if it's not a case, there's not an instance where the community experiences a fallout in reference to Tatsumaki and her reputation. Some of the heroes might, or maybe some of the Hero Association members might, or whoever's watching might. That'll be interesting to see. Yeah, you're right.
Because we already know, like, from when the heroes fought Garou, there's like a gap between like, well, just jumping on, like, there's a gap between like the B's and the A's and C's and the S class. Like, some of them are super like, we don't get enough credit as it is. Like the S class, everyone cares about them, no one cares about us, which is why they all teamed up after Garou, right? So is this going to be something that goes on in the future? Is like, I thought that like we get to the problems with like, not like, I guess kind of like a civil war in the Hero Association eventually, but I've always thought in my head it was like final art, people find about Saitama, people are with him, people are against him, etc. But maybe it's going to be like just problems are going to arise in the Hero Association, and we're going to get like people who are like, especially because we know like this, the Hero Association ain't a great business, ain't a great company. So is there going to be people who are like, no, this system really helps us, the Hero Association saved us, and there's going to be people like, there's problems. We've got problems, like, they're doing stuff like this. They're keeping demon level threats underneath. And like, if Metal Knight was to ever leak like the stuff he knows as well, because he knows things that most of the people don't, then that could cause big problems in the future for everyone too.
Yeah, it kind of brings up the point of, I think over the last 3-4 chapters, something which has been repeated maybe 2 or 3 times from Saitama defeating the gods essentially of the Hero Association, and now Tatsumaki just willy-nilly dropping into the middle of the Hero Association, going down to the basement level essentially with no permission. What it's shown is, and we specifically see in this chapter the repercussions of the people living there. So all these rich folks saying, oh my god, like what the hell's happening and stuff like that. It shouldn't be happening in the Hero Association. So then it brings up a question of, rather than a civil war, will there be a turning point where people lose trust in the Hero Association? They start looking for trust elsewhere? Because we've got other organizations they can look to. the organization, for instance. We've got Tsukuyomi as well. We have no idea what these guys are going to do on like a ground level.
God.
So maybe there's going to be a turning point where people don't want to live in the Hero Association, don't want to be there, and they start kind of defecting or going to other places to look for protection.
That's good thinking. Yeah.
Money.
Are we talking about competition in the hero business?
That could be a thing. Yeah. I mean, like if Tsukuyomi can give people psychic powers, and it's like it doesn't matter where you come from, like we can give you that. I think people would be tempted by that rather than people going like, "Oh, trust in us," when we can literally like, "We will give you the power to protect yourselves."
If all I could do was levitate my own body weight, I'd be happy. So I might go for that option.
Bro, that's... Hey, talk to one, bro. Have him slip that shit in there, bro. We need something like that. We need shit like that, bro. Imagine like you get a commercial one day. Saitama's sitting there flipping through the television while Genos is in the back cooking or some shit like that. And you see a Tsukuyomi commercial, bro, with Gear Spur on the front, bro. Out here talking about some, hey, I'm psychic. You could be a psychic hero too. Type shit. Like, what?
Listen.
What?
The campaigning? Oh, my. If I was the Hero Association, I'm advertising all the bad bitches.
I want it like a. I want like an infomercial. Are you tired of all those heavy boulders in the way of the road?
Yo.
Back here. Well, he got anchor brains. The whole anchor arm thing. Well, I used to be a nerd. Now I'm a jerk, and everybody is me.
It's just the flex pads where he's like, I put this boat together thanks to the Tsukuyomi.
Like, bro, I'm just saying, bro. Like, imagine a commercial with Lily and Fubuki. Oh, let me not.
Right.
Let me not even.
Yeah. Do you want to stop? Okay, right.
Because
start again. Not choose the child.
What
What did he just say?
What do you mean?
Someone clip that.
I ain't say nothing, bro. Look.
He won't stay in the frame. There he goes. Save us, Saitama. Save us.
Rewind
All right, so
no minors.
at the end of the chapter, we get a kind of serious face from Saitama, indicating that he's not playing with Tatsumaki and that he's stepping up the stakes. So Tatsumaki also looks a little more pissed than usual. She's veined out. We've talked about that. The story is called One Punch Man. We've talked about what could really be the consequence of these actions here. Now it's up to you viewers. In the comment section, let us know what you think about the different things that we've discussed today. There have been storylines that we've hit on in reference to like God's affiliation with what's going on, if he's the root of all things here, as it were. Like how deep does the God iceberg really go, bro? Like how deep is that bitch for real, bro? Like there are a lot of things that we discussed in this podcast. Make sure that you hit on and comment on anything that you found interesting or that you want elaborated upon, that you want to add context to, that you want to discuss in general. We'll be here to talk to you with it. You can also join the Discord where you can find all of us or myself, as well as many other members who discuss One Punch Man in general. You can also follow these guys on their channels where they release all different kinds of content, not just about One Punch Man. And finally, like this video, subscribe to this channel. We're going to see our boys in the next one. Damn, I did it wrong. Yo ho!